Hey there, Internet's Code Warrior Malo here for another day of working on the game that I'm going to try to complete in a week. So, basically 2 days have already gone by. What you're seeing here is the work from yesterday, which was Sunday. Today is Monday, and it is after 5, so I'm off work, and I can get started on the game again. But before I start making any changes for the Monday night, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what I did on Sunday evening. I was planning on going to sleep early on Sunday evening because Saturday I spent a long time working on stuff as well. But I didn't. I ended up staying up fairly late. But as you can see, a couple things have changed. The first is that the sun and the moon no longer just rotate in a circle around your spaceship. Before they were kind of revolving around your spaceship. They're not doing that anymore. Now they're actually fixed positions in the sky. The sun comes down and the moon goes up, and then the moon goes down and the sun comes up. If I was in the opposite space from where I am right now, you would see the moon. Well, you wouldn't see it yet, but it would start to climb into the sky, and we can go try to find it here in a minute. They don't move as fast as the not as fast as the clouds either, but not as fast as the mountains. So when you're moving around the world, because the sun is further away, it moves slower. It stays in the sky a little bit longer. So we're going to watch that. I'm going to go ahead and let that fall, and you can watch the sky dim as the sun begins to set. And then, of course, when the moon gets full up in the sky, it will be pitch black, but with stars, right? Which you can kind of see the stars creeping through. I have my clouds. They now have a little bit of movement on their own. These clouds were made using Photoshop, using a brush. I watched a quick tutorial on YouTube about how to make your own cloud brushes with Photoshop, so I went ahead and did that. My mountains and the middle ground have been modified to look like sort of like, not really vector graphics, but cartoonish style graphics. Included in the mountain range are those communication towers, I guess. I've been debating on whether or not I want to put like a little satellite dish on there, and maybe I will. I don't know. There might be something that can be game elements later that actually do something. But right now they're just there. The foreground I haven't changed at all, and I'm going to change the foreground. I'm going to take off those trees, and I'm going to change the way that the foreground looks so that it looks very similar to how the background in the foreground with the mountains look. I changed the algorithm for placing mountains, so now instead of just randomly placing mountains in a location, I'm starting from the furthest reaches and walking my way back to the farthest reach, so from the lowest number to the highest number, and I'm randomly spacing them in between there and randomly picking which ones go, because I was finding I didn't like just the random selection, because sometimes you'd get them all bunched up, sort of like what you're seeing here. There are 3 here, but that's, okay. And then I was also getting like these towers. So see, there's 2 towers, and that's fine. But before I was getting like, tower, mountain, tower, like right on top of each other. So don't mind if they're separated that way. That's awesome. And so this is looking pretty good. I've been thinking about more stuff, what I want to implement, and I have some great ideas about that. I'm going to show a little bit of code here in a couple minutes so that you can see some of the logic code that's in here. My ship moves fantastically, I think, at this point. Maybe slow, but I'm not hating that at this point. The aliens have some intelligence to them. They will actually run towards the spaceship when the beam is down. They do not currently run towards the spaceship if the beam is up. There's a radar system. I don't know if that was implemented fully last time, but there's a radar system up top, and so you can see there's two aliens kind of marching my way, and he's going to pause there, and he's going to want to be brought up. There's two of them just hanging out together. So, yeah, so you saw how he ran the other way. They ran different ways. Scoreboard is implemented. You get 25 points for each alien that you suck up in the ship right now. That might change based on your difficulty level or something. It says how many aliens are left. Right now there's 10. It says how many you've rescued, which right now is 0, and how many you've lost. And right now I've lost none. So I'm going to go ahead and beam up. These guys are smart enough to run into the beam, so here they come. I'm going to grab both of them. You'll see them disappear from the radar screen, and I have rescued 2. There's 8 left, and I have 50 points. That's exactly what I want to see happen. So here's another one. I'm going to drop this one a couple times so that he dies. So I'm going to let him almost come up, and then I'm going to drop him. And he's still alive. He's hurt, but he's still alive. I'm going to have him come up, and then kill him. Boom. And then he'll fade away after he's dead. And now I've lost 1. There's 7 left, and I've rescued 2. So I think I was kind of thinking about how can you lose the game, right? Because right now you can't really lose the game. It's kind of like scoring points and things like that. So I think that each level is going to have like a required number, I think, for you to rescue. There'll be a target number. So maybe I'll change that rescued, instead of being 002, it might say like 2/4 or something like that. So you have to get 4 in this level. Or maybe based on difficulty, you have to get a percentage of what the full aliens are. And so you have to watch out for the guys, the agents who are going to start walking through, which I haven't even started those graphics yet, nor the logic. So the other thing is that right now these guys don't indicate that they're injured or not. So you might decide that you want to go ahead and, oh look at this, I can get all 3 of these guys. You might want to decide to go pick up the injured ones first, right? So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to adjust the radar screen so that it shows the alien in a range of green to yellow to maybe like an orange, not red. And not red because I'm going to show the agents as red. Then, or the enemies as red. Then I think that I will also add a little health indicator either around or under those aliens who are walking around the ground. So let's go ahead and look at some of this code, how this is done. So if I switch over to mono development, we can take a look at some of this code. So as all my Unity games go, I always make sure that I have a global script, a global logic script. And this is a script that's going to hold the static properties and static methods, and then all my enums that I'm going to use throughout the game, so that any script that's running has access to these without having to pass an object through to everybody. That's how I do it. And it works very, very well. So I have some things like my movement direction, last background index, background delta, and these are for building the backgrounds. How many aliens to save, how many are remaining, how many you've saved, how many you've lost, the movement speed of your ship, so movement direction, left to right, and movement speed, your current score, the minimum and maximum world x's, and then I added a one called max world x plus 1 so that I don't have to always add +1 when I need +1. I can just use a variable that I like. There's a game state, and it starts off at main menu, but there's no main menu, so actually when it goes into the play script, it immediately sets it to play. And then there's a sky alpha, and that's how the sky gets brighter or dimmer. I start adjusting that. Here's my first enum. It's called game state. These are the states I currently have thought about. Main menu, configuration menu, level intro, running, paused, level complete, game over, upgrade menu, and attract mode. And what I'm thinking that level complete, what I'm thinking is that maybe I also want a level select. I was just thinking this. So I'll say menu. And even if I don't use these, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference, but these are just things I'm thinking about. Then there's beam modes here, and that has the the none, extending, extended, beaming, retracting, or retracted. Alien mode, standing, beaming, falling, walking, I can't say walking, waving, being shot, dead. Scoreboard items. So this is used, and I'll show you that later, to know which one of the items I'm modifying, because I just made one script and then I used it among all those scoreboard items. And I can extend it too. So if I want to say, if I want to have coins, I can have that, right? And then a beam mode, so that everybody knows what the beam is doing at this point. Satellite mode, so either circular or vertical. Now remember, originally they were going round and around the ship, and that was circular. I didn't want to throw that code away because I like that code and I might use it for something else. And this script could be definitely reused, so I kept it. Vertical is just where it goes up and down, kind of like oscillating up and down. This function is not used because this is never attached to anything. The script is never newed up, so that's never going to fire, and neither will update because that's not static and it's never newed up. The two static methods I currently have are lose alien and rescue alien, and those are called when you either get the alien into the ship or he dies, whether by being shot by an agent or you dropping him a couple times and killing him. So both of those do basically the same thing. This one increments saved, this one increments lost. They both decrement remaining. This one increments your score by, right now, 25 hard-coded. However, that may be something that's modified by level or something, like difficulty. This one decrements by 5, and again, that might change. Then calls the little Unity destroy on the object that I passed in here, so I passed in the game object right there. And then if the aliens remaining equals 0, then I set it to level complete. And then of course I can modify some of this to be if you've dropped below that threshold that you have to, the number that you have to make, then you can it can be game over or whatever. And in fact, since I really like that idea, I'm going to go ahead and add a public integer required save. And right now it's going to be 0. Actually, let's just make it 1. You have to get 1. And then I can go ahead and do that. So then down here, if I were to add that, if aliens remaining equals 0 and aliens saved is greater than or equal to required save. Oh, I know what's wrong. Saved. This is not, I screwed up. I didn't make it static. Static. Can only access static stuff from static stuff. So if it's remaining and I have enough, then level's complete. Otherwise, I'm going to set, whoops, I don't want to do that. This editor sometimes does funky stuff. Game state equals game states dot game over. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm just going to copy this and paste that. So now that'll happen. All right. So let's look at. Let's see. What should we look at first? Let's just background script. Let's look at that. So these are the items that. This is how it controls the items that are the foreground, the clouds, the middle ground, eventually the trees, which will really be in the cloud area, and the foreground, if I didn't already say that. I have creation modes. It has a list of images and a move speed for each one. So in the editor I can set how fast I want each background to move. And on the start, it switches the creation mode. If it's linear, then it just goes from the 0 indexed image all the way up to the maximum indexed image, and does it again and again and again. If it's snake, then it goes from the 0 indexed image up to the maximum indexed image, and then back down to the 0 indexed image, and then back up to the maximum indexed image, and it keeps doing that up and down, kind of like a snake, right? And then the default is just random, and it just randomly chooses an image within the range of all the images that you have. And on update, this is where it moves. So it moves based on its move speed times the ship's move speed from the global logic script times the movement direction left or right, so that's either 1 or -1, and then multiply it all by -1, because when I'm going left, I want all the stuff to go right, and when I'm going right, I want everything to go left. So that's how you do it, right there. And then I constrain it here to make sure that it doesn't go out of the world. If it goes out of the world max or under the world min, I just swap them. I throw them on the other side of the world. And I had a stitching issue, and that's gone. I fixed that. Game object transfer local position actually ends up putting it where you want it to go. Okay? So that is the background script. Pretty easy. The beam script, this is a fairly easy one too, not too bad. So these really don't matter so much, right? There's a spin rate, which really just means next action, next thing that's going to happen, animation rate. And then there's some sprites. There's only 3 of them. There's the one that has little lines. There's a solid one and another one that has little lines opposite. And those are probably going to change. I'm not super happy with any of these graphics. As you know, most of these graphics are placeholders. The ones that I've replaced I kind of like, and I think I'm going to keep those. And I was even thinking that I may go ahead and make some variations on them, and then we could have different levels, like, maybe a desert level, maybe, different levels, whatever, moon level, stuff like that. So I get the renderer, always get the renderer first, so I don't have to do this. Game object get component whatever is going to slow down, it's going to be slow. So you get it once, and then you have it for the entire script. I set the beam mode to be none when I start, and then the sprite index is 0. And on update, if the game is paused, because the game can be paused now, although I haven't quite haven't quite finalized that code. That code's a little buggy, slightly buggy, but just the pressing of the button to pause it is kind of buggy. But this code is in every update where something could move. It goes ahead and says, hey, if the game is paused, just get out of here. Don't do anything in the update. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to animate anything. I'm not going to move anything. Not going to interact with anything. So that's what that does. That's at the top of every update for each of the scripts that have something that can move or interact with. Then it just switches the beam mode, and all this really does is determine, hey, what's the current mode? And in this case, like if it's extended, then it's going to change it to beaming. If it's beaming, it's not going to do anything. It doesn't need to do anything, but that case is there right now. I can delete that if I want, unless I want something else to happen in that. Extending, it's going to start making the beam larger, and once it gets to a certain size, it's extended, right? Retracting, same thing. It starts to suck it in, and then once it gets to a small size, which is 0, it's retracted. And then we just have the spin rate here that's just switching, picking the next sprite, next sprite, next sprite, next sprite, and when it gets past, in this case, 2, it's going to go back to 0, and then go 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0. But it does it within the next spin time, so that it's actually like not constant. It's animated, delayed, so it looks right. And then of course I just set the sprite renderer there. That's it. Beam script, easy, right? Alright. Well, that took about all the time that I have for this episode, so I will go ahead and record some more stuff. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and work on stuff, and then I'll record some more stuff, and then I'll upload some more recordings. So there might be more than one in the next day or so. So maybe I'll do one tonight, and then I'll do another one tomorrow after work. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this, please subscribe. Please tell your friends.